someone, a bodhisattva is someone who wants to reach enlightenment, who reaches enlightenment in order to help all free from suffering.
Bodhisattva is an enlightened being. And so any human being with a precious human body has the potential to become a bodhisattva. It's like becoming a saint without having to die, be martyred for it. So this is basically a guide that was written during this time of what should one do if one is a bodhisattva. And like I was telling you before, there's the one verse that says, even if someone would cut my head off, I would still give them honor. And that's a little bit far of a, I don't think we have to go there today. So, and part of the teaching in this is it is part of what's the teaching called Lojong, which is a Tibetan practice. And part of that, and these are phrases that are practiced, and it's part of it is one of the favorite practices of Pema Chodron, Tibetan nun, Western Tibetan nun. And that practice is called Tonglen. And we've done this before. And what it is an exchanging of self for others. And it's a very powerful practice, because what it does is you take on the suffering of others, from a spiritual standpoint, and then you give out peace and comfort, perhaps what they need. It can be for oneself, it can be for others. And so it's the breathing in of the suffering, and then the breathing out of peace and compassion and that sort of thing. And it helps us to be with suffering. And it's the type of thing, if it seems difficult to do, back away from it. But why I wanted to do this today, we're going to do it as our meditation practice, and we've done it before, is that I don't know about you, but in my personal experience, I've been having, some anxiety about what's going on in Bolivia and in our country. And, there's that, we've gone to, and Pastor Andy too, to protests and that sort of thing, and you wonder, does it help? And when you look at what's happening in the Ukraine, in Gaza, in different parts, even today, hearing about the earthquake in Afghanistan, what I've started incorporating into my meditation practice at home is to do the Tonglen practice. And inhaling, the suffering of another, and then exhaling peace. And I think, I can't do a whole lot physically, but I can work with that suffering and be present with it without saying, I'm not going to watch TV. And to then, and what I've noticed, what's happened with me with my meditation practice is after I'm done, I have a sense of lightness. And it's like I've devoted that time to being present with that. And so we're going to do that today. But I do want to say that as we do it, if it feels uncomfortable for you, just simply come back to your breath. There's no point of making yourself anxious, right? I've found that it doesn't make me anxious, but I'm not everybody. So I just wanted to make that comment. And so really the basic teaching of the Bodhisattva is to take on the suffering of others and give out peace. And which isn't always easy, especially if they're doing it toward us. And that can be getting our head cut off. So we're going to go ahead and enter into our meditation. Well, invite the bell. Listen. The sound of the bell calls me back is my true home. And so we arrive and settle, welcoming ourselves to our true home, which is in this present moment, in this place, for the sake of all living beings. So we begin this practice by simply sitting in open awareness. One way of doing this is to visualize a wide open space, such as being on the top of a mountain or hill and seeing the expanse, or at the ocean and seeing and hearing the sound of the sea, or looking open to the sky and seeing clouds and birds, and just this sense of spaciousness that's so characteristic of mindfulness. Just take a few moments now to be in this open, wide space. A place of your own choosing that helps you to open your mind and your heart. And remembering that anytime during this practice, we can return to this place that is open and inviting. And so the practice of Tonglen is not only a spiritual practice of helping others in need, but it is also a physical practice in that it involves the inhale and the exhale as a way of clearing away suffering and distress. And the way the author of the Lojong text describes it, and you can use this or you don't have to use it, is that to imagine a texture, that there is a texture of heaviness and a fog that's like a smog with a color. And on the inhale, to take that in, realizing it's not going to hurt you, but this is part of the process. And then on the exhale, the feeling of coolness, brightness, airiness. This process is almost as if you're allowing that peace and that compassion to exit through your pores transforming the suffering. But you don't have to use that image. Simply the idea of inhaling whatever it is that might be of trouble to yourself or in the world. And so we're going to begin with ourselves. Let's bring to mind a situation that might be troubling you. It doesn't have to be on a scale of 1 to 10, a 10, but perhaps something that's been troubling, conversation, a decision that's to be made. And bring it in front of you. And now inhale, taking in that concern. And on the exhale, breathing out peace, compassion, and care. Just notice if there is a lightness that happens, and you can do it again if you need to. Simply to be present with that open, wide expanse. Sending out happiness and spaciousness. And then just sit with the awareness of that sense of peace. And now bring to mind the situation that is happening either in our community or in the world, in which others are suffering. Or it can simply be a situation with a neighbor. But to bring it to mind instead of pushing it away, allow yourself to bring it into your mind. And on the inhale, take in the suffering, this person or these people or these beings. And then on the exhale that openness, peace, safety, compassion. This is the practice of not turning away in the face of injustice and suffering. It allows us to be with it. We're actually doing something about it by opening our hearts. Now, for the next few minutes, I'm just going to invite you to perhaps bring to mind other situations. Just spending a little bit of time with inhaling the suffering and exhaling the peace and the safety. Or if you wish, you can simply inhale the idea of suffering and then exhale peace. Resting in that spacious place that you brought to mind at the beginning of this meditation. Anytime you can go back to that vast, spacious place, whether on top of a mountain, the ocean, or simply looking up into the sky. And breathing out goodwill, passion, and peace for the entire world. This is an incredibly powerful practice in that we allow ourselves to give, and what goes out into the world is part of the world. Instead of pulling back into ourselves, we open ourselves. Exchanging self for others. This practice also can be used at any time during the day. If you observe someone who is suffering, who's angry, to just simply breathe it in and then breathe out peace and compassion. As we're confronted by news that is disturbing, we can transform it through this practice. Instead of allowing our minds to go in a million directions, we can focus on the issue and then breathe out goodwill. So in closing this time of meditation, I'm going to share with you a writing of Lao Tzu from the Tao Te Ching. He writes, always we hope someone else has the answer. Some other place will be better. Some other time it will all turn out. This is it. No one else has the answer. No other place will be better, and it has already turned out. At the center of your being, you have the answer. You know who you are, and you know what you want. There is no need to run outside for better seeing, nor to peer from a window. Rather abide at the center of your being. For the more you leave it, less harm. Rather abide at the center of your being. For the more you leave it, the less you learn. Thank you for your practice. And in the seamless continuity, we're going to go into walking meditation. And I'm going to suggest that you take suffering for a walk in any way that seems appropriate to you. A couple ways of doing it. One of the practices I do is I think about all the people in my life, family members, friends, and on the inhale, I breathe in their name, and on the exhale, I send out that message of peace. And it's amazing how the time goes because one person leads to another and a little being, and that sort of thing. So that's one way of doing it. Another way of doing it would be to, and this would make the steps slower, thinking about situations in the world that maybe have concerned you, and taking the step, breathing in, and then the second step of breathing out. And I would suggest that this is not wasted time because you are putting that out into the world instead of just fretting about it and thinking, oh my, what are we going to do? But to actually be participating in it. And I think it's a very generous practice. So with that, we're going to go to the sanctuary or the social hall and do our walking meditation. You can do this with your hands while you're walking.